Please warmly welcome Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare.
Thank you, Anita. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Excellency John Dramani Mahama, Your Excellency Carlos Villanova, President of Sao Tome and Principe, H.E. Pascal of Côte d'Ivoire, former Prime Minister, H.E. Fatal, Deputy UNIDO, colleague ministers, heads of delegation, distinguished captains of industry, development partners, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, greetings. It is my singular honor to welcome the visionary Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, and other distinguished heads of states of other African countries who have joined this august gathering. As Ghana's Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, I am privileged to address this distinguished gathering at the Africa Trade Summit 2026. We find ourselves at a defining moment as we deliberate on financing Africa's industrialization, one where the choices we make today will determine whether Africa becomes a global industrial powerhouse or remain trapped in its role as a supplier of raw materials. According to the IMF Historical New Industrial Policy Observatory, there has been a structural break in global industrial policy since 2020. We have witnessed an acceleration in policy activity with new motives emerging beyond traditional competitiveness objectives, supply chain resilience, national security, and strategic autonomy. Between 2009 and 2023, over 33,000 industrial policy interventions were implemented worldwide, with subsidies being the primary instrument in both advanced and emerging economies. The message is clear. Industrial policy is back, and it is being financed aggressively. The question for Africa is not whether we should pursue industrial policy, but how we finance it effectively in the context of limited physical space, competing priorities, and an increasingly protectionist global trading system. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the advanced economies offer us critical lessons that we can adopt to leapfrog and change the dynamics of our industrial path. First, these economies have embraced blended financial mechanisms. The United States Inflation Reduction Act combined tax credits, grants and loans, guarantees to support clean energy financing. The European Union's Green Deal merges public grants with requirements for private sector co-investment. China's model layers state loans, equity stakes through sovereign funds, and preferential procurement. Second, they target strategic sectors with precision. Rather than spreading resources thinly, they concentrate support on dual-use technologies, advanced manufacturing, critical minerals, and low-carbon industries, sectors that drive the economy by great improvement. Third, they link industrial support to value chain development. Support is not merely for financial assembly, but extends upstream to critical raw materials and downstream to advanced manufacturing capabilities. They increasingly use localization policies, requiring that subsidized industries source inputs domestically or within trusted geopolitical blocs. While this presents challenges for the global trade, as Sam Jonas said, it offers opportunity for Africa regional integration. Your Excellencies, against this backdrop, Ghana has adopted deliberate strategy, sector-specific industrial policies with innovative financing structures. We have moved away from generic industrial support to focused intervention in sectors where Ghana has actual or latent comparative and competitive advantage and where we can build competitive value chains. Textiles and garments, high on the block for 2026. Why textiles and garments? The answer is simple. First, employment creation potential. Second, regional market opportunities. With the Africa Continental Free Trade Area now operational and Ghana's continued access to EU market and AGOA, we have preferential access to market representing over 1.5 billion people. Third, tremendous value chain integration potential. Our sub-region stands out for producing some of the world's highest quality cotton, a truly valuable resource when we build an integrated approach to transform it into fabrics and finished products. What we needed most is precisely the kind of innovative, competitive, and scalable garment manufacturing capacity like companies we have in the country, Dignity, DTRT Apparel, Unij Factions, and other local garment manufacturers who are delivering successfully. This positions us preferably to unlock even greater economic growth, job creation, and regional leadership by fully harnessing our cotton excellence and expanding integrated production models. The foundation is strong, Excellencies, the future is bright. The automotive components sector. Similarly, our focus on automotive components is strategic. Ghana's automotive development policy has already attracted over $100 billion in foreign direct investment. But we recognize that simply assembling imported kits is insufficient. True industrialization requires producing components, creating upstream linkages that generate technological learning, skills development, and broader economic spillovers. The global automotive industry is in transition. Electric vehicles require different components, offering Africa countries an opportunity to enter value chains without displacing entrenched incumbents. Ghana is positioning itself as a regional hub for automotive components, serving both domestic assembly markets and export opportunities within ECOWAS and NAFTA. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the pharmaceutical sector. Our focus on pharmaceuticals is driven by both economic opportunity and strategic necessity. First, it responds to health security initiatives. Secondly, it taps into strong market demand. Africa imports over 70% of its pharmaceutical needs, a 14 billion market projected to grow to 40 billion by 2030, offering Ghana a clear opportunity to serve the region through local production and distribution. Third, Ghana has key advantages, including medical plant resources, established pharmaceutical firms with quality manufacturing practices. This was deliberately done with a policy under Excellency John Dramani Mahama in his first term, which is yielding dividends. The critical gap has been limited investment into active pharmaceutical ingredients called API, and advanced manufacturing, which is needed to move beyond basic formulation and packaging to full-scale pharmaceutical manufacturing. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Africa is at a pivotal moment where strategic partnership, smart financing, and bold collaboration can accelerate industrialization and unlock shared prosperity. Institutions such as Afri-Exim Bank, the Africa Development Bank, and the Trade and Development Bank have the balance sheets and mandate to finance bankable industrial projects through innovative, de-risking blended finance. Bilateral development finance institutions across Europe, Asia, and the Americas have shown strong interest. The priority now is to convert it into concrete deals through high-quality, investment-ready proposals. Government must enable this with stable macroeconomic policies, which Ghana is doing great, predictable regulation, which we are on top, efficient trade facilitation, and targeted time-bound incentives. Ultimately, the private sector must see African industrialization not as charity, but as a major global business opportunity, driven by a market of 1.4 billion people, a median age of 19, and vast potential for sustainable returns. Your Excellencies, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the legitimate concerns about industrial policy financing. Can African governments afford subsidies? A recent IMF paper on industrial policy since the great financial crisis makes it clear that our fiscal constraints are real. 2/3 of economies globally have relatively small tax bases, raising the opportunity cost of subsidies. This is precisely why blended finance, which leverages limited public resources to mobilize larger private capital, is essential. We cannot afford subsidies everywhere, but we can strategically support breakthrough sectors, like I've already stated. If every African country subsidizes the same sectors without coordination, we simply create excess capacity and engage in races to the bottom. This is why the Africa Continental Free Trade Area institutional framework becomes critical, not to restrict policy, but to coordinate it in ways that create complementary rather than competing national strategies. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude with this reflection. When the United States of America wanted to build its semiconductor industry, it passed the CHIP Act with $52 billion in subsidies. When European Union wanted to secure its clean energy supply chains, it mobilized hundreds of billions through the Green Deal. When China wanted to dominate electric vehicles, it provided over a decade of sustained support. Africa has every right, indeed, every responsibility to finance its own industrialization. But we must do so smartly, with clear sectorial strategies, innovative blended finance mechanisms, regional coordination, and unwavering commitment to transparency and results. In Ghana, our support for garment factory is not merely about producing cloth. It is about demonstrating that African countries can finance industrial transformation even with limited resources, by being strategic, by leveraging partnership, and by ensuring that every public dollar mobilizes multiply private sector dollars. It is about proving that the next chapter of Africa's story is not written by others, but by us, factory by factory, sector by sector, value chain by value chain. The future of African industrialization will be financed not by waiting for aid, but by intentional policy, strategic partnership, and the determination to transform our vast resources into prosperity for our people. I thank you for your kind attention.